Miles Farley, aka Slato, we're gonna call him YSL Slato, is now behind bars. Why? Shout out to my guy Thugger Daily, give some more insight, and I've actually got the full document here. We're gonna go through the arrest warrant and look at what actually went down and what happened, according to the APD. Slato, aka Miles Farley, is back in jail today for gun possession while on probation from the YSL trial. It's a trap, man. What does it say? APD's got him, Miles Malik Farley. They got him on possession of a firearm by a first offender probationer, unlawful for a person employed by associated with a criminal street gang to conduct in criminal activity, unlawful for a person to commit offense with the intent to obtain, earn a membership, maintain, and increase the status. We've got more details here. What does Thugger Daily say? The driver in the alleged incident, and we're going to get into the full document here in a second, was YSL rapper B Slime. The gun was in the glove box, pulled over for a tent. B Slime tried to tell the cops that the gun was his, but since it was in the glove box, they determined possession was with Slato and arrested him for probation violation and added gang charges. We talked about this. We talked about this at length when all these plea deals were being handed out. I said, so what happens if someone's in a car and they're on probation and they're not allowed to have possession of a gun, and the Uber driver has a gun in the glove compartment? If you're on probation and that happens, you get pulled over in the back of the car, can you get locked up for that? B Slime said the gun was his. He said, whoa, y'all chill. That's my gun. He was just here. The police said, we don't care. He's in possession of it. It was in the area. He had access to it. Legally, it's a probation violation. It's just sad, man. It's just sad to see this happen. We talked about probation being a trap. I don't know what happened and what the truth is behind this situation. Was it really Slato's gun? Was it not? We're going to get into the full arrest warrant, and then you guys can decide what actually happened and what went down. But before we do that, I want to go back and rewind a little bit. Back to when Miles Farley actually took his plea deal so we can see what actually happened here.
This is indictment number 22 SC 183572, State of Georgia versus Mr. Miles Farley.
It's a shame. I hate it.
You solemnly swear and affirm the testimony about to give the matter pending before this court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, sir? Yes, sir. Okay, put your hand up. Could you please state your true, correct, and legal name for the record? I'll let you sign before I ask you all questions.
And Mr. Gotti, maybe reposition the mic while he's doing that.
Yes, Judge. Ms. Farley, could you state your true, correct, and legal name for the record? Farley. And Mr. Farley, are you at this time taking under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medicine? No. Is there any medication that you take daily or regularly that you have not taken today that would affect your ability to understand why you're here? No. And how old are you, sir? How far have you gone in school?
Wronger than wrong. I agree.
And are you able
Can
to...
you also speak into the mic, please?
26 and got a bachelor's degree.
Yes, sir. Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
And do you understand you are charged in indictment number 22 SC 183572 with count 1, conspiracy to violate RICO, count 49, which is related to the homicide of Mr. Drinks.
So we got RICO.
51, which are both participation in criminal street gang activity, and then count 54, which is a possession of a firearm in the commission of a felony. You understand you're currently charged or indicted with those counts?
Yes.
And do you understand that you have the right to plead either not guilty, guilty or not guilty to these charges, and if you pled not guilty, remain silent, you may receive a jury trial?
Yes.
And has your attorney, Mr. Menendez, gone over the rights that you're waiving by taking a guilty plea here today, sir?
Yes.
And are you satisfied with the services that your attorney has provided?
Yes.
And do you need any additional time to talk to your counsel about any of the facts and circumstances regarding the charges and the circumstances of this case?
No.
Probation
And Mr.
is so
Menendez, do
bad,
you waive
man.
formal reading of the indictment?
So waived.
Do you waive any and all defects in the indictment, including any with respect to your client's name for the purposes of this hearing or plea?
Yes, so waived.
And Mr. Farley, has your attorney spoken to you about the minimum and maximum penalty for the counts that you're pleading guilty to?
Yes.
And he advised that for count 1, RICO, the minimum is 5 years, the maximum is 20 years?
Yes.
And do you have any questions as it relates to that count, the single count that you'll be pleading guilty to?
No.
And sir, do you understand that this is a negotiated plea of guilty, which means the state and your counsel will offer a joint recommendation to the court as to the sentencing recommended for the count that you're pleading guilty to, but the court does not have to follow that recommendation, and she can sentence you as she sees fit up to the maximum for the charge?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Is he just pleading to count 1 and y'all are now processing the rest as a part of the agreement?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
So it's just Rico. No pros to everything else, including the Shamel Drinks murder.
Mr. Farley, do you understand that this plea may be used to enhance sentencing on other convictions in this jurisdiction, as well as in other jurisdictions, including the federal courts?
Yes.
And do you also understand that if you are not a United States citizen, a guilty plea will affect your immigration status and will result in deportation, regardless of any advice given to you by your attorney or anyone else?
Yes.
Do you understand that you waive any and all defenses by entering a plea of guilty here today, sir?
Yes.
Do you also understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up or waiving the following rights: the right to a trial by jury, the right to remain silent and to not incriminate yourself, the right to confront witnesses against you, the right to the assistance of counsel hired by you or court appointed if you are unable to afford an attorney for the trial of your case, the right to presumption of innocence, the right to testify on your own behalf and to present other evidence, the right to subpoena witnesses and to compel the production of evidence, the right to have the charges proved against you beyond a reasonable doubt by the state of Georgia, and the right to appeal if convicted of these charges after trial. Do you understand by taking a guilty plea here today that you're waiving or giving up all of those rights?
Yes.
And Mr. Farley, has anyone forced, threatened, or promised you anything to get you to enter a guilty plea here today?
No.
And are you pleading guilty, sir, because you have decided in speaking with your
Guilty
counsel,
to
Mr.
Rico.
Menendez, that you believe that is in your best interest to do so?
Yes.
And are you aware that even if you're not admitting guilt, as you're pleading under North Carolina versus Alfred, if the court accepts that this plea of guilty places you in the same position as if you were convicted after a jury trial?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you plead to count 1, conspiracy to violate the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act in indictment number 22 SC 183572?
Guilty on the Alfred.
And Mr. Farley, is this Alfred a guilty plea freely and voluntarily given with full knowledge of the charge that you're pleading guilty to?
Yes.
And do you understand that you may have a limited right to appeal this guilty plea conviction?
Yes.
Do you also understand that you have only 4 years from today for a felony charge to file a habeas corpus petition challenging the voluntariness of this guilty plea?
Yes.
And this was
Challenging
just
anything
2
about
months
the
ago.
Constitutionality of the guilty plea, understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I want to make sure he.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Do you also understand, sir, that you have 30 days from today to file a direct appeal from this guilty plea, and until the end of this term of court to file a motion seeking to withdraw this guilty plea, which doesn't mean that the court necessarily would grant it or not. It's just that's the time constraints that you have to file under those areas of the law.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
Okay.
All right, and your attorney, Mr. Menendez, will represent you until 30 days from now or the last day of this term of court, whichever is later, and he would be the one to file any of those things on your behalf unless he is allowed to withdraw before that time. Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And just for the record's clear, I just provided to Ms. Pressfield the indictment, which was signed by all parties as it relates to
All right.
the defendant's guilty plea to count 1.
Oh, that first offender is gone.
Rico, Your Honor, had this case proceeded to trial, the state would have shown beyond a reasonable doubt that between January 24th of 2013 and May 8th of 2022, this defendant, Mr. Farley, in conjunction with his fellow co-defendants, co-conspirators, known YSL associates, did unlawfully conspire to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the enterprise YSL. In doing so, they did it through a pattern of racketeering activity, conducting and participating in YSL with the same common objectives, which were to preserve, protect, and enhance the reputation of the enterprise, that being YSL, doing so by protecting the power and territory of...
Yeah, we get it, Adam. All right, let's get forward to
But,
Judge Whitaker's ruling.
In tendering a guilty plea under Alford, Mr. Farley, you are admitting that while you do not believe you have committed the crime of conspiracy to violate the RICO Act, you are acknowledging that there is sufficient evidence that the state could present to a jury from which a jury could conclude that you are guilty of that crime. You understand that, right?
Yes.
All right. All right. I find there to be a factual basis for this plea. I will accept it under Alford, and I'll permit it under the First Offender Act.
There's the first
and
offender.
I find the plea to be freely, knowingly, voluntarily, intelligently entered with an understanding of the consequences. And in accord with the negotiated recommendation, I am going to sentence you to 5 years probation. And as we discussed before,
5 years.
how you perform during the next 5 years of this probation is going to determine whether you finish that, a person who can say that they do not have any felony conviction, or whether you might be spending some time potentially incarcerated. So it's entirely up to you how you comport yourself and how you choose to behave going forward. What ultimately will happen at or before the end of that 5 years. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Judge Whitaker is going to cook him.
Are there any special conditions to this probation? Have y'all negotiated any?
5 years. That's all he had to do. Now, I believe he is out on bond, according to Judge Whitaker, or according to Thugger Daily, excuse me. So he was released on bond. It looks like he's got bond for, what is that, 15, so 20, 25,000. Good God. The problem with this is he's going to be facing the time he would have served on the RICO charge. We're going to get it. Let's get into this arrest warrant, or this affidavit here, and see what actually went down. All right, y'all, get ready for this one. Here's the story of what actually happened to Miles Fraley, what actually went down. Judge Whitaker is going to cook this dude. Personally named Jay Storno, who on oath says that it is to the best of his/her knowledge and belief that Miles Malik Fraley, hereinafter called the accused, on the 6th at 5 p.m., between 5 and 6 p.m., and here's where it took place, in Fulton County, aforesaid did commit the offense of unlawful for person employed by/associated with the criminal street gang to conduct/participate in criminal activity, felony count 1. The accused, Miles Fraley, unlawfully was employed or associated with the criminal street gang, YSL, a local subset of the criminal street gang, SEG's Money Murder, to conduct or participate in criminal gang activity through the commission of a crime enumerated in paragraph, and they say that here, specifically a criminal offense in the state of Georgia that violates violence, possession of a weapon, or use of a weapon. The activity involved the criminal offense of possession of a firearm by a first offender probationer, during which Miles Fraley was unlawfully in possession of a Glock 17 9mm firearm. Why, Miles? Mr. Johnson's documented affiliation with YSL, coupled with his presence in a gang-controlled location while armed, demonstrates his active participation in advancing YSL's criminal objectives. Possessing a loaded firearm in furtherance of gang-related activities aligns with YSL's established pattern of using weapons to protect and promote their illicit operations.
Stop the cap.
These actions highlight Mr. Johnson's role in perpetrating gang dominance and securing the gang's operational stronghold. Said, and this makes this affidavit a warrant may issue for his/her arrest. Probable cause. Here's the summary of the investigation. On March 6th, 5 days ago, at approximately 5:10 p.m., Officer Diaz Taylor and members of the Atlanta Proactive Enforcement and Interdiction Unit, or they call it Apex, were conducting proactive enforcement along the Cleveland Avenue corridor in South Atlanta. Oh, not Cleveland Avenue. Oh my God. This location is well known to law enforcement for a high rate of violent crime and narcotics distribution, particularly criminal street gang activity, primarily controlled by members of Young Slime Life YSL gang. I don't even like saying that. While patrolling the area, Officer D.S. Taylor conducted a traffic stop at 2865 Old Hapville Road Southwest on a black Ford Mustang bearing Georgia tag. Y'all can see it there, for a violation of regarding illegal window tint. A lot of guys get pulled over for that. Lil Baby actually got pulled over for that at one point. Upon approaching the passenger side of the vehicle, Officer D.S. Taylor observed that neither occupant was wearing a seatbelt in violation of another code. The officer identified himself and requested identification from both individuals while informing the driver for the reason of the stop. The driver was identified as Jabarius D. Greer, aka B Slime, and the passenger as Miles M. Farley. During the interaction, Officer D.S. Taylor observed what appeared to be marijuana flakes scattered on the center console and floorboard of the vehicle. Based on training, knowledge, and experience, this raised suspicion of possible narcotics possession. When asked if there were any firearms or illegal substances inside the vehicle, both individuals denied possessing any contraband. What are these guys doing, man? I get this is all you know, but golly, come on. Miles Farley, you got a second chance, man. 5 years. You had to keep your nose clean for 5 years, man. Given the presence of suspected marijuana residue and the occupant's statements, both individuals were asked to exit the vehicle to allow further investigation. They were sweating. A request was also made for a K9 unit to respond to the scene and conduct an open air sniff. K9 handler Officer Pagan arrived shortly thereafter with his K9 partner Jumbo. Shout out to Jumbo. The K9 performed an open air sniff and positively alerted to the driver's side door of the vehicle, indicating the presence of narcotics. Based on this positive alert, Officer Diaz advised both occupants that a probable cause search of the vehicle would be conducted. We got to search your vehicle, man. During the search, a Glock 17 9mm firearm with the serial number, y'all can see it there, was discovered inside the glove compartment. Additionally, a white pill with the markings T194 was found on the passenger side floor near the door, where Miles Farley was sitting, by the way. A pill identifier search confirmed that the pill was oxycodone, a Schedule II controlled substance. Both individuals were immediately detained. When questioned about the firearm, neither Mr. Greer nor Mr. Farley claimed ownership, both stating that they were unaware of its presence inside the vehicle. Man, if y'all don't stop the cap. A criminal history search was conducted on both individuals, along with a status inquiry of the firearm. The firearm was not found to be on file. However, the background check revealed that Miles Farley was currently on the first offender probation following a conviction for violating the Georgia RICO Act on December 17th of 2024 in Fulton County Superior Court. Lord. Officer Diaz Taylor read Mr. Farley his Miranda rights, which he acknowledged and voluntarily waived, agreeing to speak without an attorney. Are y'all seeing this? I don't know what to say. Officer Diaz Taylor read Miles Fraley his Miranda rights, which he acknowledged and voluntarily waived, agreeing to speak without an attorney present. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and it will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to speak to your attorney. If you don't have an attorney, one can be appointed to you. When asked about the firearm, Mr. Fraley denied any knowledge of it or involvements with firearms. However, Mr. Fraley was seated in the front passenger seat, directly adjacent to and within arm's reach of the glove compartment where the firearm was located. Given its close proximity and ease of access, it was determined that Mr. Fraley had constructive possession of a firearm. Further supporting that conclusion, Mr. Greer later offered to take responsibility for the firearm in exchange for Mr. Fraley's release. Too late. An action that strongly suggested both individuals were aware of the firearm's presence before the stop. Based on the totality of the circumstances, including the location of the firearm, Mr. Fraley's criminal history, and the exchange between the two occupants, Mr. Fraley was placed into custody and charged with possession of a firearm by a first offender probationer, and he's about to spend a lot of time with his dumb ass in jail. Mr. Fraley would later be transported and booked into Fulton County Jail. The recovered firearm was booked into police property as evidence. Gang investigation. The individuals and their roles within the gang. Myself and members of the Atlanta Police Department Gangs and Special Investigations Unit have extensive knowledge of both Mr. Fraley and Mr. Greer, who are confirmed and documented members of Young Slime Life criminal street gang. Both individuals have actively promoted their gang affiliation through social media, regularly displaying firearms, flashing gang hand signs, and associating with otherwise. I can't do this. Beyond more affiliation, their online presence strongly suggests, I think Viverito probably wrote this part, suggests active participants in YSL's criminal operations. Both Fraley and Greer have posted images and videos showcasing their large sums of cash while in possession of firearms. Additionally, Fraley and Greer have been repeatedly observed in photos with other documented YSL members, reinforcing their deep ties within the organization. Their content often glorifies acts of violence, celebrates retaliation against rivals, and memorializes deceased YSL members. Practices commonly used to instill fear and maintain control. Their continued public display of weapons is not merely for self-protection, but a deliberate statement of the gang's power. Let me find out that Miles freaking Fraley was posting with guns on Instagram while he's on probation. I would swear. We know all this. This was Viverito wrote this, obviously. Criminal street gang activity. Miles Fraley's actions on March 6, 2025 were a direct violation of Georgia's gang statute, as they demonstrated his active participation in criminal street gang activity and furthered the interests of YSL, the gang. Under Georgia law, individuals violate the gang statute when they engage in criminal conduct to benefit, promote, maintain their status with a criminal organization. Fraley, a documented YSL member with a history of violent and gang-related offenses, was found in possession of a firearm while on the first offender probation for violating the Georgia RICO Act, a conviction that stemmed from his involvement in YSL's widespread criminal enterprise. His continued engagement in illegal activity, particularly in a known YSL stronghold underscores his ongoing allegiance to the gang and criminal objectives. This man did not learn his lesson. I don't even want to read the rest of this. Additionally, the broader context of Fraley's association with YSL, including his previous gang-related charges, his social media activity flaunting firearms and illicit proceeds, and his documented connection to high-ranking members, further cements the fact that his actions on March 6 were not isolated, but part of an ongoing pattern of criminal behavior that serves to benefit YSL. His continued engagement in illegal activity, particularly in a location that serves as a base of operations for YSL's criminal enterprise, is a clear violation of Georgia's gang statute. The possession of a firearm, his association with another YSL member, and his presence in a known gang stronghold all point to his active participation in furthering the gang's influence, maintaining his personal standing within the organization, and perpetuating YSL's reign of violence in South Atlanta. Repeat offender, yes. And then we have Officer Storno signed, and the clerk judge signed it as well. This freaking idiot. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments in the chat. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We will not be doing free Slatto on this channel. I'm sorry. Why you would put yourself in this situation is beyond me. There was a pill on the floor. They were smoking weed. They knew the gun was in the car. And then they're on Cleveland Avenue with the windows tinted. I don't want to see. We can type free Yak Gotti in the chat. We are not free. No, there's no free Slatto, no free Miles Fraley. You are a freaking idiot, Miles Fraley. And I hope Judge Whitaker takes it easy on you. This could have been avoided. Let me know what y'all think in the comments in the chat. Wow, what a dummy. Free Yak Gotti.